What's happening, everyone? So today, part 2 of the classic, timeless, iconic fragrances of all time. So we've done part 1. If you guys did miss that video, I'm going to pop it up here. Go check it out. Be sure to check it out so that you guys can understand what the series is all about. In this series, I will continue to highlight the most iconic, groundbreaking, trendsetter fragrances over the years. If you guys are into this sort of thing, definitely check out part 1 and be sure to leave me a like, because if this video continues to hit 500 or more likes, I will definitely continue this series. Of course, ladies, don't forget to also leave your like, because I will also include some iconic, timeless women fragrances in the upcoming episodes from this series. So if you guys are into this sort of thing, stick around. I have some incredible fragrances that I will share with you today that are iconic, classic, and timeless. Stick around, the video's up next. So you guys understand, what do I consider an iconic classic fragrance? I think fragrances that are widely known over the past decades, fragrances that are recognized as trendsetters, groundbreaking fragrances that started a trend or is widely respected, will definitely be on these lists, on these series. So without any further ado, let me hop into the choices for today's video. You guys are gonna love it. I mean, I love this stuff. You know, if it's classic, if it's timeless, it's definitely going to be in these lists that I'm putting together for you guys. So starting with the first one here, this is from 1981. Arguably, this is one of my favorite fragrances of all time. If the formulation that is currently available today was anything close to what I'm showing you today, this would definitely be my top 5 favorites of all time. This is really amazing. It's not for the faint of heart. Not everyone's gonna love this stuff here, but if you enjoy the honey note, which, by the way, a lot of the fragrances in this list will have that honey accord or the honey note that I truly love in fragrances. First choice here is going to be Kouros from Yves Saint Laurent. YSL Kouros was originally introduced in 1981 by master perfumer Pierre Bourdon. Now this stuff here is going to be it is very strong, ladies and gentlemen. This is going to be a very animalistic honey type of a fragrance, which has the note of civet in here, which is the glands of the animal, which I think in 1980, this is a vintage formulation, so I think back then they were still utilizing the actual original form of the gland of the animal. So this is extremely animalistic. The honey here is going to ride the composition from beginning to end, which I have to say, from the mid into the dry down, the fragrance will become a little more soapy. It'll be much cleaner, much well balanced, and easier to appreciate. But the first hour or two, this stuff is beast. It's very powerful. So Kouros will have this very animalistic, wild honey facet with some floral undertones and the leather that's also very predominant here. I love this stuff. I think it's a masterpiece from Pierre Bourdon. Like I said, if the formulation available today was anywhere near this, at least 50% close to what this is, I would definitely keep it as one of my favorite 5 fragrances to wear regularly. But because it has been toned down quite a bit, the fragrance that we have today in Kouros, I want to say, is about 20 to 30% what the fragrance was. So whether you're trying to conform to today's world, trying to capture new audiences or a younger demographic, the truth of the matter is they have completely neutered and killed this incredible masterpiece from 1981. So Kouros from YSL, definitely one of my favorite iconic, classic, traditional, timeless fragrances of all time. I have to also say that this fragrance here has a lot of cinnamon and also has a very predominant oak moss base, which I absolutely love. It's green, it's very earthy. So oak moss is going to be something that I'm going to be looking at classic, timeless fragrances, because these days, because of IFA regulations, it is not a note that it's very prevalent these days. And if it's used very minimal. So heavy oak moss fragrances are definitely going to make these timeless, classic fragrances of all time, because oak moss was heavily utilized for chypres and fougères, which are timeless genre that I absolutely love. Next choice here is going to be a choice that it will definitely come as a surprise to a lot of you, or most of you. Completely out of left field. This is a fragrance that you don't really hear much talks at all about here in the fragrance community. Criminally underrated from a brand that doesn't really have many fragrances, but this one here is incredible and you should definitely consider checking out. It's still available today. It's a cheapie today, and it's a big bang for your buck type of a fragrance. I'm talking about Animale from Animale. This is going to be a 1994, 93 or 94 release that is going to be, in my opinion, the grandfather of all gourmands. This is a first year release right here. It is absolutely impeccable. There is a pineapple note up front that's going to be very fruity, not going to smell like a Ventus. Instead, it's going to smell like a fruity version of A-Man from Mugler. When you look at A-Man, Mugler, you know, from Terry Mugler, A-Man, it is a groundbreaking fragrance as well from 1996 because it has that milky tar note that is very gourmand-like with that cocoa, you know, chocolatey patchouli. This one here instead will have a patchouli that's going to be very cocoa-like as well, but it's going to be a fruitier kind of patchouli along with that pineapple fruity note that I talked about. There's also some oak moss in here. There's some old school notes in here. It's going to be like a gourmand meets a fougere. I absolutely love this fragrance. It's, like I said, criminally underrated. You can get 100 ml like this for about $23 to $25, so it's a no-brainer. Just to have a timeless, incredible fragrance like this that's powerful, long-lasting, groundbreaking, trendsetter in your collection for this price point is a no-brainer to me. Love this stuff. I love the little lightning bolt. It is a lightning bolt of a fragrance that's going to make you smell amazing, especially in the fall, you know, early spring, fall, and winter. This stuff here is incredible. I always talk about this fragrance when I give you guys, you know, big bang for your buck, affordable fragrances for fall and winter, because it is just that. People talk about A-Man being the first masculine gourmand. I beg to differ. I think Animale from 1994, it is definitely the first grandfather of gourmand fragrances for man. Although, like I said, it has a little bit of a lavender fougere background, but it also has that creaminess, that gourmand feel with that fruity pineapple up front that I absolutely love, guys. Definitely worth checking out. Timeless, groundbreaking for sure. The next fragrance here, we're going to go back 60 years. We're going to go from 1994, Animale, we're going to go back 60 years to this incredible fragrance, groundbreaking, timeless. You talk to any perfumer out there, any, you know, master perfumer, seasoned nose, they're always going to refer back to this fragrance because it is a timeless classic that it will never die. From 1934, we're talking about Pour un Homme de Caron from Caron. This is a masterpiece when it comes to lavender-based fragrances. The note structure here is rather simple. We're talking about 4 main notes: French lavender or lavender absolute, along with vanilla, white musks, and amber. I absolutely love this fragrance, guys. It is a little bit powdery, especially in the dry down, a little bit metallic with that vanilla and musk, but it is a timeless classic masterpiece. This is a bomb of a fragrance. If you love lavender, this is a must try. Extremely powerful, long lasting. I believe this formulation here that I have is from the 90s, but it has been reformulated. If you look at a current formulation, the juice is not going to be as dark green as this one right here, but it's still going to give you, I think, 8+ hours. These old formulations, you're talking about 20+, they are beast. But like I said, if you like vanilla, it's not so much of a barbershop feel because it doesn't have the oak moss, it doesn't have a lot of the spices that you'd get with the barbershop. But again, if you love lavender, this is going to be a masterpiece lavender. Think about a holy grail, you know, lavender fragrance. I think about Pour un Homme de Caron. Whenever I talk about fragrances with creative directors, big master perfumers, you know, great noses in the market, they always refer to this fragrance as a structural point, as a groundbreaking trendsetter point of a skeleton to a lot of the great fragrances that we come to love today that are heavy in vanilla and lavender base. This is a great fragrance, guys. Again, another cheapie that can be had for a very good price that is nothing short of a masterpiece, guys. Pour un Homme de Caron, amazing. You gotta try it. Speaking of barbershop fragrances, this next one here is considered a woody spicy / barbershop. It is a fragrance that was my dad's signature scent. It still is. He still wears it today. He used to go back and forth between this one and Azzaro Pour Homme, which Azzaro Pour Homme was one that I loved and I always stole sprays from him. The Paco Rabanne one, I didn't steal sprays because I knew he loved it so much. I left it alone. I think he kind of could tell it if I stole sprays because he loved that stuff so much. But of course, I'm talking about Paco Rabanne Pour Homme. This is a vintage formulation here, I believe, from the late 80s. Compared to the current formulation today, this is going to be a lot spicier. This is going to be a heavy, herbal, fougere with a tremendous note of earthy oak moss in the base. Of course, lavender, all the prerequisite notes and accords that you'd find with a normal fougere fragrance, you will have in this fragrance. I believe there is vetiver as well as honey in the fragrance, which I love those 2 notes. So it has everything I love. It's got the herbal feel, the earthy feel, the green, the herbalness. It's a great fougere. This next one here is a formulation from the early 2000s. I know it's been heavily reformulated. Whatever you find today on Paco Rabanne Pour Homme, it's going to be like 10 or 20% of what this fragrance once was. But if you can manage to find a Paco Rabanne pour Homme that is probably pre-2010s, you'd be okay. It just smells great. To me, the way I would describe this, it's a green herbal fougere with a woody, spicy backbone. It has this great Brazilian rosewood heart, along with the herbal nuances, the lavender and the amber and the tonka beans, which gives it almost like a sweet, nutty effect. So it's like a different take on the fougere that is very unique. As you guys know, Paco Rabanne always likes to push the envelope a little bit. And I think they did a great job here with this 1973 release, which is a different take on the fougere genre, which is very popular still to this day. You know, you're going away from this, you know, sweet tonka vanilla and Broxton that we come to expect with, you know, current releases. This instead is going to be a very heavy herbal fougere with the oak moss, the Brazilian rosewood, and that tonka bean along with amber, just to sweeten things up a little bit and give this nutty effect of the fragrance. Amazing, uncanny, definitely one of my favorite fougeres of all time. So we talked about great fougeres, oak moss-based scents. Now the next one I'm going to talk about will also have a little bit of a fougere vibe, but it's going to be a different take on the fougere genre. So if you love patchouli, this next one is going to be a patchouli lover's dream. I'm talking about Givenchy from 1974, the original Gentleman. Guys, this stuff here is nothing short of a masterpiece. Again, if you love the note of patchouli, this is a splash bottle. This is an old formulation, I believe, from the early 90s, late 80s, but it was released in 1974. And the current formulation, which is what you can find in stores today, is this one right here. I don't know if the Gentleman, this formulation has been discontinued. I think it might have been discontinued, but this particular one here is going to be, compared to the original, still very, very good. The patchouli here is very heavy. It's a little bit chocolatey. It's a little bit animalistic. You have some animalistic undertones with a gorgeous wild honey note. Again, as you see, I love honey. So it's always going to be most predominant in timeless fragrances such as these. So this formulation here, I believe it's from the early 2000s. So it still has that beautiful animalistic patchouli with that honey note that I love. So picture this. The way I describe this fragrance, guys, so you can understand the beauty of this fragrance. You're going to take a little bit of vetiver, a little bit of oak moss with a whole bunch of patchouli. You're going to envelop that on a beautiful suede leather, and you're going to drench that with a cinnamon-infused honey blend. It's just going to drench in there. It's going to soak in there, and then you're going to squeeze the juice into a bottle. That's what I get with this fragrance, guys. It's absolutely phenomenal. You get the leather, the honey, this beautiful drenched cinnamon honey patchouli that is just to die for. Givenchy Gentleman is where it's at. This is a tremendous gentleman elixir of pleasure, old world goodness. It's going to get you smelling amazing. You can still find this stuff out there because it's not very heavy in demand. Even the vintage bottles I've been able to find on eBay for quite decent pricing. You know, considering all things considered when it comes to vintage fragrances, we all know when it becomes discontinued and hard to find, it goes really high up in price. But this particular one, Givenchy Gentleman, you can actually find for quite good prices on the discount markets. Most likely eBay, you'll be able to find the vintage bottles. Just make sure you're buying it from reputable sources, people that have really high reviews and feedback, you know, positive feedbacks, so you're not getting fakes. But again, you can still find it for a decent price, and I highly suggest and recommend you guys try to get a bottle if you love classic, iconic fragrances. You're going to absolutely fall in love with this one. So that's all I have for you guys today on the part 2 of the most classic, iconic, timeless fragrances of all time. Let me know in the comments your choices for the most iconic and timeless fragrances of all time that I haven't covered yet. I'd love to read your comments, and perhaps I will feature some of your choices in the upcoming episodes from the series. Thanks so much for hanging out with me. Please show your support, leave the like, touch the subscribe button. Don't forget to, turn your notification bell icon so you get videos straight into your feed. As always, remember guys, fragrance is emotion in motion. It's an extension of your character. You should always wear what truly moves you, and of course, wear it well. Today I'm going to go with this fragrance right here, Givenchy Gentleman, which I truly love, and I think it's a statement of class and elegance. So guys, keep tuned in. I'll see you guys right back here in the next video. Take care.